6 o'clock, Monday, June 17th, 2024, regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council. Roll call.
Here. Here.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Stephen Spears.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Item 3 is Juneteenth proclamation.
Second.
Adam, is there the Juneteenth proclamation? Do you have it? It shall be signed. All right, so if you are interested in observing, it's just it's a proclamation, so it doesn't actually require action. But if you're interested in observing Juneteenth, there is a movie night tomorrow at Valley West Mall. They have their drive-in. At dusk, they will be watching Wakanda Forever. On Wednesday, there will be a Juneteenth celebration at Wilkie House, 6 to 8 p.m. And then on the 23rd, there will be a Juneteenth festival in Ankeny at Wagner Park from 3 to 8 p.m. So the number of opportunities to observe Juneteenth.
Did you mention West Des Moines? I'm sorry.
West Des Moines and Valley Junction, they're both
Yeah, yeah.
doing something this, like West Des Moines, it's their first year
Yes,
maybe of
it
doing
is.
it.
I kind of went down there is the website. I think it's Iowa Juneteenth.
Did we get that in a Catch Des Moines email? I feel like I read it
Either are
somewhere.
Axios.
That's it.
Yeah.
It was an email.
IowaJuneteenth.org has a kind of a list. Tried to go chronological, but if I missed one, please feel free to speak out. Those are just the ones that I mentioned. Public forum. This is a time set aside for comments from public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Any public comment?
Boring.
All right. It's an agenda.
Move to approve.
Did Julie have something? Might be asking.
We'll vote on the consent first.
Yeah, let's
Yes,
vote.
this is Julie.
We'll do the
sorry.
consent agenda. We'll come back to you, Julie. Roll
Okay,
call.
thank you.
Stephen Spears.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
Julie, please go ahead.
Thank you. I had to mute myself again. Julie Earhart from 1029 68th Street. I just wanted to give some compliments to not only the city workers for the work that they all did in relation to our lovely tree stuff that we had going, but also I had some communication and praise I have for Nate, working with him on some of the reporting of concerns that I've had about some of my neighbors. And I think he's been very prompt in dealing with all of those things, which I totally appreciate. I was just curious if that's my dog, an update on relation to what side of the street the sidewalks will come on 68th Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So per Axios, the event is Railroad Park, June 30th. Do we have any hours? Do we know? Okay. We'll keep this
That would be a Sunday.
this will be a continuing and informative session until we
Until we knock this out.
until we knock this one out. All right, action item 6A, consideration of space use analysis proposal from OPN Architects.
Just, can Julie ask about 68th Street? About any updates on 68th Street with the sidewalks?
I'm sorry, was there a question or I thought it was just a,
She was wondering if there were any updates, I thought she said, because she had sent me a text also.
okay,
That is correct, Susan. Thank you.
okay, I'm sorry. Are there any updates?
Still working with Mid-American.
Okay. If you did not hear that, Julie, the update is that the engineers are still working with Mid-American at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the update. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Was there a motion and a second? AJ,
Evening, Mayor Council. Back during our budgeting cycle, we talked about conducting a space use analysis of all the city facilities to look at what maintenance needs there might be going forward, as well as space allocation and additional space needs there might exist for existing staff and future staff. The council budgeted the analysis to take place this coming fiscal year. So as we're coming into July 1st, OPN Architects was the low bid for a space use analysis back in November. They've agreed to honor their pricing of that $26,900 from then. Their analysis would include the existing conditions report of the existing facilities, so any improvements that might be needed or long-term maintenance plans, an analysis of space needs based off of current and projected staffing, one concept design evaluation for each of the city buildings. That's included in the base fee. And then that multi-year plan and overall scope of operations. If there's any additional concepts that want to be explored, they can do that on a as fee basis. So our plan is to get together in early July with OPN, walk through all the facilities with department heads. Our plan would be to keep city council apprised periodically as we meet and go forward in the process. Certainly welcome any council members or mayor wants to participate in any of these committee meetings or in key committee meetings. The ramifications of the study could have significant dollar value going forward. So certainly invite your input at any point in the process to kind of keep us on track where you want to head. So that's kind of the one question we have posed to you beyond approving the space use analysis is whether you want to have anybody appointed to a committee, or you just want us to periodically come in front of council and let you know where we're at.
Anybody have an interest?
I would have an interest.
well, it's gonna probably take 2 council members to make a committee. I would say, as it does with all committees, even ad hoc ones, so.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay. So Michael and Susan, we will form an ad hoc committee. Working with department heads. There we go.
All right, we'll loop you in as we start getting meetings scheduled. Presuming you want to move forward with the analysis.
Any further discussion or questions? Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6B, consideration of street tree grant program.
Move to approve.
AJ.
So also during the budgeting process, there was some conversation from Councilmember Harns and some information provided by Adam Straight on some street tree programs, particularly the Cedar Rapids one. The mayor connected staff with Trees Forever. Early this year, we discussed with them how they plant using volunteers and maintain and warranty trees kind of across the metro, primarily in Des Moines. And we drafted a contract for the amount of $9,000. I've got the staff report incorrectly listing in a couple places, $7,500. But $9,000 to plant 20 trees in the city right away upon resident request. Per the specifications that are laid out following the staff report. They would then water those trees and warranty those trees for a period of 1 year. So that would be kind of the kickoff or the concept for right-of-way tree program in Windsor Heights. There are a number of other grants out there that we can start utilizing going forward as well. Tiny Trees program, I believe we've previously used. Mid-American does $1,000 grant that we're going to start applying for next fiscal year as well. And the Iowa DNR has some larger scale canopy tree grants programs as well. But this would kind of get to the ball rolling for us, start replacing some of that canopy that we lost through the derechos over the last 10 years. on some of the other storms that we've had. And then we'd also be working to update our GIS system, which I believe was back in 2019 was the last time we worked with the DNR to map out where all the city trees were in the parks and the right of ways. So there's some updates on those needed just based off of trees that have come down, ash borer, and some new trees that have been planted over time. But we would, if approved, we would get out on social media and the city's newsletter, the option for trees for residents to choose from. We've got 3 overstory trees, so large trees that would be in areas without power lines, overhead power lines, and then 3 understory tree options for areas that would be underneath power lines. Residents could sign up, first come, first served basis. Public Works or myself would go out, look at the right away in front of their house to confirm that there's no utility conflicts or sightline conflicts. If it looks like it'll be an acceptable spot, then we'd add them to the list for the fall planting for Trees Forever. Happy to make any revisions or answer any questions council might have on that.
So once, if the residents, request it, which is, I'm assuming how this works, who maintains, who makes sure that the branches are cut properly? And, because I'm not tall, and when I walk on University, I get smacked, especially if I'm riding a bike. I get smacked in the head as I'm on the sidewalk. So just wanting to make sure that we keep that in mind, that who's going to maintain that and make sure that,
Yep, trees are a mixed blessing, right? I mean,
Yes.
we've seen the damage that they can cause, but they, also during a heat wave, give us some nice shade on the sidewalks as people are walking. So trees in the right of way are maintained by Public Works. Probably just saw them down University here last week, trimming the canopy over the trail system. If there's a nuisance issue, more on a residential side, they'll be out there and trim it. Or if it's potentially conflicting with the power line, Mid-American may get involved. But the trees in the right of way are the city's to maintain. If they cause damage to the sidewalk, our policy has been to pay for half of that repair to the sidewalk due to the root damage from the tree. But residents often will trim those trees as well, kind of to their liking. So, but generally, yes, they are the city's responsibility.
and adding all these trees, do we have the staffing for Public Works to ensure that this will stay going for more than just 1 year? Looking forward, do we have enough services so that we don't have to add this contracting out like we do the watering and everything else that we kind of started?
The question is whether going
If adequate
forward, Public
staffing.
Works would water
Well,
new trees or?
adequate staffing to ensure that we're maintaining, cutting, all of that fun stuff that comes along with the trees.
Gotcha. Well, I think, depending on how long the program would be in place, we'd just be getting back to where we were previously. Because the ash borer took down a lot of trees in a lot of communities here. But Jason, I guess you want to speak to bandwidth for tree maintenance in the right of way, or?
If there's ever an issue, we try to get around in the fall time, obviously, like before the snow season starts, like we gotta make sure that tree limbs aren't hitting the top of or down park. We also gotta take into consideration of all the like the yard waste, the garbage trucks, recycling trucks that come through. I mean, it's just like anything, it's just one more thing you add on the ball plate, and you gotta prioritize yourself, you just have to do it.
Well, the tree isn't ours to maintain, right?
Aren't they ours?
Well, the private property owner.
No, but yes and no. If
Yes,
the limb-
yes and no.
Yes and no. So if there's a limb that is hanging over the street, yes. we
Sure.
have it for it.
Right.
Basically to the curb line up.
Right, that's a
So I
lot
want-
of trees.
I want to make sure that I understand this then. If we plant it in the right of way, you said that it is Public Works responsibility to maintain, cut, clip, everything, and that tree is Public Works.
If a tree dies or becomes a nuisance or a hazard in the right of way, the city would be the one that would pay for the cost of removal. Getting to the day-to-day maintenance of it, it becomes a little bit more gray. But again, if it's causing a hazard in the roadway in particularly, the city would be the one responsible to trim that tree. Or Mid-American if it's causing a hazard with power lines.
I have a follow-up question then to what Susan described of walking and there being branches that are blocking the sidewalk, whether on foot or on bike. Is that a report to Nate as a code issue? Is that a report to Public Works for their assistance? What's that process?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess I don't want to misspeak. Jason, I know we maintain the trail system and we'd be maintaining the tree line over that trail system. Generally speaking, residents are maintaining their sidewalks. You know what the past policy has been about going out in the city trimming over sidewalk areas?
No, I mean, I think that there's never been anything. It's just always been, I mean, get measured to, from our right of way section. I mean, if it's in the right of way, we've got to clip it.
So I
I
think
mean, there's probably never really ever been a protocol that I've known.
I just want to be upfront with the homeowners and everybody understands the expectations. If they get the tree, I don't just want the tree to be plopped in and then nobody knows, is it mine to cut? Is it theirs to cut? Is Public Works gonna do it? I don't care either way, but I think that it needs to be defined so that there's not a question.
Within adequate, like, so let's say a prime example, like on your street on 64th, like up there towards the very front, up there, there's like 8 ash trees. Obviously, those are all in the right of way, those are ours to maintain. So when there was actually a branch that was clear up in the tree, we couldn't get it, so we had to contract it out because our boom won't go that high on our truck. So I mean, I guess that's kind of a prime example. Yes, it was a little bit back over into her yard, over the sidewalk. So I guess to answer your question in some roundabout way, yeah, we maintained that, we just took it out.
Aaron, are you familiar with city's legal liability to maintain sidewalks clear and free, or would that be something that we'd be responsible for? Or?
Well, I mean, the sidewalks themselves, the requirement, I'd have to brush up on this, but the main maintenance requirements are obviously for the abutting property owners. And so the tree limbs above, I think technically the liability would be there as well, but because there are trees where the trunk is, so the tree law in the state of Iowa is wherever the trunk is that's the person that's responsible for trim them. So I think the property owner, I think what you're raising is a really good step. I mean, I think we should be able to tell the property owner, if you're going to take a tree, you're going to put it in the city's property. It's going to, the trunk, wherever the trunk is going to become city's obligation to maintain, but we have to know. And so if there's issues, you need to report those, and where do you report those? So I think some communication on that would be really helpful.
And we're talking about 20 trees, correct? Every year, or this looks like 2020.
That's what we have the capacity to do based off of the budgeted amount for this coming fiscal year. So that's what would be planted this fall, and council can certainly choose to budget more the next fiscal year if you want to allocate additional dollars to plant additional trees. The agreement with Trees Forever would be a cost of $450 per tree for them to plant, water, and warranty it for a period of 1 year.
I think this is a great program. I just want to make sure that we're communicating effectively so that the people, the homeowners that receive the tree know the expectations.
So as far as drawing up the
Agreement.
literature, I guess, make it clear that maintenance, who to report it to, et cetera. Other discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6C, consideration of authorizing execution of contract with JC Midwest Services for salt shed demolition.
Move.
Jason or AJ?
Evening, everybody. Jason Roberts, Public Works Director for the city. Obviously, in the summary that we have put in the council packet in here, the Public Works Facility Structure Assessment report was conducted by ISG on September 8th of 2023. And we approved, you council members approved a motion on March 18th to enter a professional service agreement with Bolton and Mink for our salt shed design. The Public Work Department is continuing to take the proper protocols with the demolition companies and reconstruction of the salt shed located at 6800 School Street. In April, Public Works, we relocated the 81 tons of salt that remained after our winter season. We combined with the West Des Moines Public Works Facility. They let us haul our salt out there. They have record, we have record of how much salt that we took there, 81 ton. So when it comes time to get salt this year, we'll go out there and get our 81 tons back and ship it back here to our new facility. Bolton Mink completed primary design of the building. You know, because we are in a flood zone area down there. So, you know, we got to take all those proper measures in order to make sure that doesn't, we don't get water into our salt shed, and which would be nothing more than a mess. So not a good situation. We did have asbestos in the salt shed. So before any of the demolition could have been done, we had to get the asbestos out of the salt shed. So we've already removed that. We just had that removed by probably about a month and a half ago by REW Services, May 21st of 2024. So that was the day before the big storm that came in. We also have to think consideration that we have a little over 3,000 gallons of calcium chloride, which, you know, is the stuff that we put down on the streets, you know, after we salt and all that. So we have to be in consideration that we have also, once again, worked with West Des Moines Public Works Department, and they are going to be more willing to come and haul this stuff away for us. And once again, when we get our facility back up to where it needs to be, they will haul that calcium chloride back to our shop. No charge, just a friendly gesture to just help us out because they know that the situation that we're in right now. As Public Works, we will we will get all of the permitting taken care of all by ourselves. I mean, obviously, we'll have to get the flood plan development permit. We'll have to get the demolition permit. We're gonna have to get a building permit, which is required for the project. And Bolton Mink will submit a site plan application with the Planning and Zoning Commission as part of this. So Public Works, we have gotten 3 written quotes, which you have seen. We had DeCarlo Demolition, JCMS, who helped us out quite a bit in our last storm. And then Ram Development Demo. So you can kind of see across the board that it varies in price. Everything for the salt building and demolition scope is basically what DeCarlo Demolition put in there. We will have all of our utilities that we have outside the shop. We will make sure that they were removed from the building. City of Windsor Heights, we will also do the inspection of the asbestos, which I already told you, we've already had that all removed. So that was a big key thing for them guys before they could do anything. Obtaining the demolition permit, so on and so on. Removal and disposal of a concrete and building. That will be up to obviously whoever contract that we decide to haul out. It's probably going to be more like it's probably going to take about a week to get this salt shed down because I have to haul equipment in, haul it out. There was one of the quotes in there with Ram Development. They also said that we could recycle anything of that concrete. We would be able to recycle it, and if we wanted to, we could just leave it right there on site, so we could use that as anything like future projects that we want to do with like the city. So like if we want to do concrete, we could put that down as a base and pour on the concrete instead of having to, you know, go to Martin Marietta and haul in, you know, maybe 2-3 ton of rock. If we've already got this all crushed up, it's right here on site. I know that's quite a bit more money there. They are at about 30, not about, sorry about that, Mayor, 33,000 and some odd change. DeCarlo is 34,500 and CMS is at 14,060. So I mean, it kind of all across the board. I mean, obviously like DeCarlo and these other guys, Iowa Demolition Ram. You know, they're gonna have a lot bigger equipments like semis as where the other folks, JCMS is gonna have just like a dump truck and a skid loader loading. They're not gonna be bringing in like all the big bulky heavy equipment.
So what was budgeted?
We never really had anything really budgeted off to the side. It just kind of all come all at once.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
In the initial budget, we had about $35,000 budgeted for the demolition,
What year was that in?
last fall. Yeah, when we started putting the budget together. So Ram Development and DeCarlo Demolition are right at, that mark. JCMS came in about half that cost. DeCarlo and Ram have, higher mobilization cost and trucking cost, which I think that's where a lot of the discrepancy in the pricing comes from. Bigger companies, JCMS is more of a smaller company, so I think that's maybe where some of the price difference comes into. But we did have budgeted $35,000 for the demolition.
And we're sure they'll be doing the same exact, like they understand, because it is like
Same job, they'll do the same work, right?
1,000.
Right, absolutely, yes. Yeah,
Yes. The
Every
scope,
time.
sorry, the scope of the work is the same. It's removal of the slab all the way down to the footings of the building.
I think we always just question things when it's that significantly.
Right, yeah, that's understandable. Like I said, it's hard to kind of decipher where the discrepancy is, but just the nature of how big DeCarlo is and Ram Development is in the demolition world, they kind of run that in the local market. So I'd say they're on the higher end. JCMS is smaller company that is looking for work, so they're kind of on the opposite end. That's all I can, I guess, try and help explain the difference there.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Is a motion then for JC Midwest Services? Is that the motion?
Yes.
Harms was second. Yep.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Lindsay.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yep.
6D, consideration of fireworks purchases for the Fall Festival.
So
Second.
AJ?
I don't have a lot on this. Last year you approved $15,000 expense for fireworks. You've got three options before you here tonight, including the $15,000 option as well. So
We did receive back from the fire department that Walmart is okay with us using Walmart's parking lot again this year. And at our special events committee meeting, Mayor Jones brought up a good, a concern that of course we won't need to be dealing with because the park renovation will be completely done by October. So, but just on the off chance something were to happen and like a crater comes or something, we just need to put into our contract that, that we would use our other option on the Windsor Wonderland date if the park renovation wasn't complete and we can't have the fall festival as planned.
We will gladly use your fireworks. Your fireworks.
yeah,
Sure,
kind of cool.
experience them. That shall be beautiful.
But we're not gonna run into any weather problems.
Okay,
Pray for some weather.
all right.
Kidding.
Well, Is there a motion then for the 15K? 15,000? Is that the motion?
Mr. Libby,
Yes.
your motion at 15?
Okay.
I seconded.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Mike Daly.
Yes.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6E, consideration of 2024 employee handbook.
Second.
AJ, Rochelle?
We're up, Rochelle, to you.
So what you guys have all, I've got a, write-up in the packet about the major changes. The big one that was not in the original discussions that we had was adding Juneteenth, so June 19th as a holiday. So I'm just kind of curious if anyone would like to have that added, have discussion about it. And the only reason is because we've got it before us. It's easy to add now versus. Also, it did come up because my finance committee, the big metro committee, they all are asking each other, hey, is anybody else thinking about this? And everyone is thinking about it. It's just not, things haven't been passed yet, so. And it was a federal holiday, in 21, so.
Advocacy Strategies recognizes it, so. How about you?
The state of Iowa doesn't either.
No.
But I think that we
Well,
do it as a city.
The state,
Walmart Blue Cross Blue.
I'll just say the state.
Huh.
The governor kind of routinely hands out days off sporadically, just kind of like candy, as the holidays roll around, and they may not be on the DAS schedule. So I recognize they're not on the schedule. But we get a lot of days off as a state employee, I'll just tell you. So as a city, I think it's something we should consider.
So there are 20 states that don't recognize this as a holiday. And Iowa being one of those. But I too think it would be nice, it's fitting and proper, I think, given the history, that we would include this as a holiday.
Anybody know what metro? I did a little search, Ankeny, Urbandale, Clive, Johnston, Grimes. They don't have Juneteenth. I couldn't figure out West Des Moines or Altoonas.
And Nolan was, looking at it. Bondurant was, I think Bondurant is for sure gonna have, there was a few that it's in the works. It was in the process. Joaquin maybe, and Pleasant Hill. I can't remember, sorry. There's a bunch of us on the group. Anyway, just wanted to bring up for discussion. Maybe when we make the motion to approve, if someone wants to add Juneteenth, that would be great, or no. Juneteenth. The other things that came up during private discussions, I did have discussions with Lauren and Susan as well. The big one that came up is, well, and we had with finance committee that Teresa brought up about adding consumables. It's basically about the laws surrounding marijuana, hemp, and THC, and revisions to the drug testing policy. So that is something that we did ask Aaron to look into, and you did say there was some wording that could
Yep.
be added.
Yep, if that's an interest of council. We have seen private entities, not public entities that have gone that route, but we've seen plenty of private entities that at least in their pre-employment screenings are not testing for THC any longer. Obviously, if there is a reasonable suspicion of somebody showing up for work, or if there's an accident or injury, then they are doing the testing then, but they are not doing it as part of the pre-employment. So if that's the will of council, we can go ahead and add some language to adopt that.
And that is for non-CDL licenses, is that
We can't
correct?
change the federal
I just
requirements.
wanted to make sure that
Right.
I understood that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too, and we've been having a lot of conversations with employer groups as well. I mean, that's been a change. I'm just talking to some here recently, and that's something that again, you can't change federal law. And just for recognition. So federally, cannabis is being rescheduled to a Schedule 3. Right now it's a Schedule 1, and so that's currently in process. And so just recognizing that consumable hemp products are, and because so it's not recognizing that marijuana and hemp are two different things. And so mine was, and I know you wrote marijuana in there, but so both come from the cannabis plant, but recognizing that consumable hemp products are legal, federally legal in the state of Iowa, for anybody over the age of 21, starting on, the 1st of July. And that, they're recognizing that Schedule 3 does recognize that they do have medicinal or health benefit and value. So just recognizing that if somebody uses it, doesn't mean somebody's high, it doesn't mean, but just want to acknowledge that there's some, there is some space in there, but that we can't impact federal law. CDL, obviously, there's a component of that. There's a component within law enforcement. There's a component, within that, recognizing that. But if it, with suspicion, obviously you address that, and you still want to have that open to be able to do that, but just recognizing that there are some health benefits and properties there. We don't want people to potentially not use the product based on the fact that they're not going to use it because of a drug screening that they're potentially afraid of, if it's not resulting in somebody getting high or getting hired by a company, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope so.
We were talking about adding the language, at a separate meeting, so we would bring that language to you and then we would update it. We just didn't have it ready for tonight. If everyone's okay with looking at this again, but bringing the language to you and then updating it at that point, probably within the next 1 or 2 council meetings. The things that Susan brought up, would be under, on page 12, under political activities. And I don't know if you want to speak to this, Susan, or you want me to. Candidates for office. And then the other one was the non-fraternization policy on page 21. So I don't know if you want me to speak to it, or do you want to?
It doesn't matter. I'm trying to pull it up here. I'm a little bit behind on you. I think basically my concern, reading, let's see. Let me get to this. I forgot my packet at home, so I'm trying to do this on the computer, and it doesn't have my tags like the other one does. It was nicely colored, but I walked out. So did you say it was
Page 12.
showing 55 of 63? So going back to 12.
So mine,
One end of the packet.
Oh, sorry.
materials.
yeah, I don't have the packet in front of me. I just have the actual.
If you're looking for the full packet.
Let's do this one here.
120 of the packet.
Oh, boy.
Political activities.
Well, non-fraternization
Oh.
is 120. I'm not sure we're political.
113 for.
You're in the Adobe file now.
You know,
52 numbers thrown at me here, confuse me even more. So for candidates of office on political activities, should the employee or the employees
I'm sorry.
Page 12.
Okay. Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
So under political activities, the second bolded candidates for office, should the employee or the employee's relative or partner file papers or campaign for elected office for the city of Windsor Heights, the employee who is in relation to the partner or to the candidate will be required to take an immediate unpaid leave of absence until after the election. And then should the employee or employee's relative be elected, said employee will be separated from employment elected or effective with the elected official's oath of office. I just questioned how we can deny a partner or relative their right to, go for office. And now I looked at Clive, they have a very specific thing that says, to make sure that we don't have a whole bunch of people coming in. If you supervise, then, you know, it may be different. Like if I were to be on council and my husband were to be the city administrator, that could present a problem because I am his boss. But if I'm on city council and my husband wants to go work at Public Works, as a person, I don't really have any say in what he does. Or another one said that they just request that they don't make any decision or votes if it comes up against Public Works or, you know, the person that is employed. That's my concern there, that, you know, we're kind of going into constitutional rights to run for office, or, you know, I just want to make sure that that's legal and
Yeah, well, some of it is required, and I will have to take a look at it because there's a perception of conflict.
and I
is a
read
piece
through
of it.
the Iowa code.
Okay, the 68.
And I was not able to find anything that would say like, this is not correct, you know, especially since other cities do not have this
Yeah.
in
okay.
there.
Let me take a look at it.
And then there was the other one.
And that's on page 21.
Thank you. Non-fraternization.
And in our old handbook, I'll just let you know, these two policies were one big giant paragraph. So they have both been split out, and that's why there's some overlap.
Got it.
And I don't have written down what do you remember what?
I think it had to do with, if not being able to employ specifically, employment of a relative, domestic partner, or those in close personal relationship, the admin personnel or council members shall not be allowed to be employed. So I think that was
You know, council members, it calls out administrative personnel or council members. And again, I think that, because then it goes on to relatives, domestic partners, or those in close personal relationship may be hired by the city if the persons concerned will not work in a direct supervisory relationship and employment will not pose difficulties for supervision, security, safety, or morale. So I guess I'm confused why council members, if the person concerned won't work under direct supervisory relationship with other employees, you know, how it's very muddy to me. Like I'm confused by what it all means and why it just calls out administrative personnel and council members. So the mayor would be okay.
Well, don't bring the mayor into this. He didn't do anything.
Throw you under the bus.
He didn't do anything.
So I think that that's kind of muddy and it just needs to be cleared up. And maybe not, because again, looking at Clive, Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Des Moines, personnel pages, as long as you were not under direct supervision or, you know, you could impact that person specifically, you are still allowed to be.
Especially since council, the only person that we direct work to really is AJ. So as long as you don't try and hire Darren, and you don't leave, we're fine, right? Like,
And yeah, we're good.
That's great policy, mate.
Yeah.
Two people, we can look at some revised language to clean it up.
And
for
that's
you.
just what, you know, I just want to make sure that we're on the right path. So I think that was the two that I had.
And you were okay with the language if we approved it tonight, but bring it back and make sure it gets revised in
Yes.
the next month or so.
And I just wanted it to be noted in the meeting minutes that these are my concerns, just so that it's noted. And then that we come back to it so that we don't have this go back to another 5 years of none. Not that you're gonna do that, but I just want to make sure.
It's in my grasp now, and I make sure everyone's taken care of.
And our hope was to have this effective by July 1st, just to align with our fiscal year. It was part of those conversations at the committee. So
And that's why I agreed to, as long as this is said.
Have anything else? And
did Susan's concerns on the political activities section with candidates for office? So if someone that's currently employed by the city runs for office or wants to run for office in the city that they live in. Right now, how this is written looks like that they would have to also take an unpaid leave while they campaign, even though that campaigning might not be a full-time
So I
labor.
read through this and I thought that the first time, and then the second time I read through it, I got a totally different answer for my own reading. The third time I went back and thought the same way that you were, and now I just stopped reading it because I was,
Well, maybe we can unmuddy it.
Yeah, that's, we will work on some new language.
Yeah. Making sure that.
Okay, so there's so there's the three things to bring back, that being, at least my understanding, the marijuana or the hemp language,
Thank you.
correct? Well, I mean, Iowa's law is muddied with regards to THC and hemp, but that, political activities and fraternization, three issues.
Yep.
That will be brought back, and that just leaves, is Juneteenth, will that be a city holiday? I think Juneteenth should be a city holiday.
I agree with him, yes.
I agree.
I'm good with it. All right, so I move to accept the, I don't know, do we have a motion pending?
Yep.
All right.
You made it.
With- I thought I did, so, with the June 19th included. Fair?
Oh, wait.
I'm seconded.
I did.
All right, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none.
We will bring it back. In the next couple months, but we're also gonna look at it every 6 months to a year, make sure it gets updated.
It's a long time coming.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When did we originally do our office, like updates? Like
Yes.
2018 or
I
something?
know, yes, so 2019, when I started here, Mark Aronson started this.
Yeah.
Yes, 2019.
It's sort of been vetted.
it's been at least 5 years since I asked them to redo this. So
Yeah.
with these problems that
Yeah.
I questioned, so,
And see, we got around to it eventually.
hey, you know, it's just,
I don't think this is on you.
No, totally not.
All right, roll
Hey,
call.
wait a minute.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Laura Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6F, consideration of purchase policy update.
so moved.
Second.
AJ or Rochelle?
So as part of the previous handbook, there was a purchase policy as an exhibit on it. We're proposing cleanup of that policy and making it a standalone policy as we update our handbook as well here. Some key policy points on this is we're going to clarify the difference between a one-time purchase and professional services that may be a contract to extend out over multiple years. So we have some language on that. But in essence, any contract or purchase in the amount of $20,000 or more would be brought in front of council for approval. Right now, that limit is $7,500. So there's a substantial change there based off of inflation and just the general costs of doing business here in the purchases that we look at. We've also added some protocol of how budgeted items will be purchased. A pay order process that would go through Rochelle or myself has been incorporated into this policy. You'll see, as we currently have the requirement to have 3 competitive written quotes. That's the case for under $5,000, between 1,000 and 5,000. So that's currently a threshold of 1,000. That's being increased to 5,000. 5,000 to 20,000 then would be that 3 written quotes or federal state pricing, and then the purchase order process that would go through Rochelle or myself. And then the $20,000 or above would go through the competitive bid process with the city council approval prior to the issuance of the PO process. That again is the 7,500. It's also an addition of some environmental considerations into the policy. As staff makes purchases, we'll take a look at whether that's the environmentally right decision to be made, but also take a look at whether that product's going to fulfill the needs of the city and be both sustainable, but also the effective purchase price or the purchase decision. Again, professional services contracts, if we're looking at a purchase of over $20,000, we go out for an RFP. There are exceptions built in there for existing professional service contracts that have already been through council. So Brick Gentry, Bolton Mink. If you have an emergency situation, such as we did with tree removal, some of those processes can be supplanted by that need. But generally speaking, a $20,000 more purchase, I'm going to go out for that RFP process if it's professional service. We have an italices then in this policy, kind of again, additional rules and requirements that are required for anything that's got federal dollars attached to it. So anything that we have in here, such as the ability to look at a Windsor Height business that is within 5% of a purchase, the low purchase price. If it's just local dollars going into that, we can make the decision to make that purchase from the local business. If it's a federal contract, we don't have that luxury of doing that. I think those are the main points. Happy to answer any questions council has, make any changes.
Any questions?
So did we go from 7,500 to 20,000? I mean, I understand inflation, but that's like double and then some inflation. Is there a reason that we picked $20,000 for the number, or?
We certainly can adjust that number according to council preference. Just looking at some of the purchases that we make, 20,000 seemed like a reasonable number to be able to make decisions in a timely fashion. Otherwise we'd be looking at, 2-week, 3-week wait sometimes, but we can certainly function that way. Would ask that there be some sort of an increase on there. But whether $15,000 or $20,000 is the appropriate number. I think we could work with whatever the council preferences. We did look at some other cities, and I would say the general range is in that $12,000 to $20,000 range. So this would put us on the higher end of that.
I think I would feel better baby stepping, not that I don't trust our staff that we have here currently, but the past has kind of come back to bite us a few times, and I just want to make sure that we stay on the path that we're going. And if I have to explain why we did something, I'd like to at least know adequately.
And when was the last time this was reviewed and put into place?
The last policy update was 2018. I can't tell you what changes were incorporated into that 2018 version from the prior version. So that $7,500 number may be from 2018, or it may be from sometime well before that.
I think
Difficult
it's
to
well
track
before
down.
that.
Yeah.
That's always been the number as far as I can recall.
Susan's
I've been-
suggestion, perhaps we double that amount rather than going all the way to 20 and put it at 15. And then go from there.
That number would certainly make things easier for us as we go through our process and try to make purchases. So it's fine with me.
And then just kind of adjust a little bit on. Well,
Yeah, primarily that would affect professional services. You probably want to take that down to half of the $15,000 then. So 7,500 on a biannual professional services agreement. And then in the exhibit, then you'd also want to change the third bullet point under item number 2 from 20,000 and above competitive bid process with city council approval to $15,000 and above. I think those would be the two main pieces that you would want to adjust.
and then on the second bullet, the 5,000 to 20, would you just adjust that
15
number
to
as well?
5 to 15, yeah.
Any other feedback, council? Assuming the original motion was for the approval as written, there be an amendment?
Ms. Curious?
Oh, yes.
Yes, Ms. Harms?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
6G, consideration of first reading of ordinance number 2024-05, the vacant property registration ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
AJ.
This idea originated from the mayor a while ago about some problematic properties that we have here in town that have been long vacant, have been issues of nuisance. Des Moines passed a ordinance that we've borrowed from substantially in this proposed ordinance 2024-05. We've adapted it to kind of Windsor Heights' current code, but generally it follows those guidelines. And we've talked to Des Moines city staff that is in charge of their vacant property ordinance, and it's been a fairly effective tool for them. They only currently apply it to commercial properties. This is drafted in a way that we can utilize it for both residential and commercial, and I think that would probably be our intent if we were to move forward with this. But the gist of it is that any property that is not actively listed for sale, that's been vacant for I believe it's 10 days or more, and is not actively under construction with permits, they would be required to register with the city. And Nate would probably be the person that would act as the code enforcer of this, along with his other nuisance job duties. He would register them, and we would collect the property owner's information. If that property owner is outside of Polk County, they would have to have an authorized management company that is within Polk County that we can contact and be able to work with. And then also the insurance information for the property. So step one is really getting good contact information, having somebody to work with, somebody that's keeping an eye on the property. There would be an annual fee that we would set as part of our annual fee structure as well. They'd have to pay to help implement this program. And then you can see the long list of vacant property maintenance requirements. This is really spelling out in a lot more detail than we have exactly what those standards for maintenance of that vacant property is, ensuring that the property owner there's frequently visiting that property and ensuring that it is clean, clear, and well kept. If a violation does occur, we would go through an abatement process, notifying the property owner, the property manager of the violation, listing that with description and requiring that they abate that, or if they fail to abate that, the city taking action to abate that for the property owner. So a lot of this is really trying to bring property owners' attention to any problematic properties that are vacant and trying to hold their feet to the fire to make sure that they are keeping that property up to the city standards and making sure that we have the correct contact information for whoever is responsible for that, which can be a problem for us. We do rely on the assessor's website for the property ownership, but it can often go back to an LLC that can be hard to track down to an actual person that's going to answer the phone and be responsive to you. So won't solve all of our problems, but I think it would be a step in the right direction. And we do have probably 6 or 7 properties that come to my mind that Nate and I have talked about that would be on this list if it was in effect today.
Are they all residential or are they?
They're a mix. There's several commercial properties and a few residential properties.
I just think of sometimes Jake's Fireworks, honestly, with their lawn, their grass quite often is, I'd say, above the 6 inches. And what do we call it? Have to look it up. So this would be a very good way to have a good contact number to call someone and say, hey, that grass needs to be cut. Any discussion or questions?
So if, not that we have any homes that really actually make it past 180 days, but if it is actively listed for sale and it goes above 180 days, does that become like they have to register this, even though it's still on the market and they're maintaining it for showing and whatever? Under this, they would have to, or is it just if we get complaints, or how does this work? I mean,
So
we verify, check, is this
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, I don't think I did a good job of describing this. If a property becomes vacant and it's not listed on the market within 10 days, it would have to be registered. If the property becomes vacant, but it's advertised on Zillow, or there's a big sign by, a commercial brokerage company out there and it's actively being marketed to be sold or leased, this would not be it would not fall underneath the ordinance unless it's been more than 180 days. It's really where you've got a property that's just being completely ignored and it's not trying to be marketed for sale or for rent, or being constructed, that it's immediately going to fall under this purview.
Right, so not that I don't think we've had houses that have gone for 3 months, but I mean, with the interest rates, maybe we'll get to that point. But I just want to make sure that, so if it goes past 180 days, they're still actively listed as a for sale house, then they have to apply under this program.
They would fall under the vacant property ordinance. That's how I understood it.
And then what if they're maintaining the property? How is this is this kind of like the rental property where we kind of go by the land people or the owners actually abiding by our rules, or how are we monitoring this? Is this we won't really actively search at this unless we have complaints or problems? I'm just trying to
I think you've
understand.
hit on it. I mean, I think Nate's the right person to implement this in part because he is the first line that's going to hear those complaints. But we're also a small enough town that most of us are aware of when a commercial property has become vacant. Residential properties maybe less so, but they tend to come on our radar eventually. And there's been a couple that have been empty for years in town. So
I mean, I think as a practical matter, so I mean, interrupt, I mean, you're a complaint driven city. You just don't have enough staff to have
Right.
people, going up and down every neighborhood and saying, maybe that's vacant. We have this in some of our other cities as well, a very similar ordinance. And if utilities are still connected, they're mowing the grass, they're shoveling the snow, I can't imagine that they're probably going to register, but technically they would be required to under the code. But I think at that point, we're going to be talking about, is it worth enforcing that property if they are otherwise compliant with every city ordinance? So I don't expect that to come up very frequently. We're usually talking about those that are eyesores that neighbors are complaining about. And so this just provides another tool for city staff to use to try to get those into compliance. Part of, in a lot of cities, these vacant property ordinances become really important for the firefighting department. Because they'll have squatters, they don't know people are there. And so it changes the way that they try to fight fires if they know that there could be people there or not people there and who they need to be looking out for. So I know a lot of times that's the motivation for implementing these types of ordinances as well. So.
Thank you.
Other questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Laura Campbell.
Yes.
Teresa Harms.
Yes.
7A reports. My mayor's report is contained in the
Mayor.
report. I returned from a 5-day vacation in Nashville. It is all day with those people. I mean, it is very loud and they just don't stop partying there. So Miss Harms.
I think the only thing that I have to report is MAC had a strategic planning session. It was well worth our time to be engaged in that. We did do a survey, a pre-planning session survey, and everybody kind of gave insights for the last few years. Really post-COVID, MAC has not really functioned as MAC. It's been more just kind of updates and as opposed to engagement and really making policy decisions for the wider metro. And so it's really nice to see with Chris Coleman as the new chair again, now that he's back on the Des Moines City Council, really came in and kind of took the bull by the horns on this and said, we need to get refocused and have outcomes for MAC. So we went through and prioritized and identified some strategies for the next year, really. And so over the course of the next couple of months, we're going to be focused on, I think I think it was 4 or 5. I can't really, I'm taxing my brain now on not, did somebody just laugh at me? Taxing my brain. But anyways, with the, some different areas, and they were, financial, infrastructure, legislative communications, and social issues. And so some of those buckets were like, how could we make recommendations on how to address, some of the issues that we're dealing with in the legislature to make sure that we can balance our budgets, with the new tax laws and the property tax laws that are continuing to be considered, amongst the legislature, infrastructure issues, including like stormwater and those sorts of things, legislative. Hosts a whole lot of things and how we're communicating with policymakers and that sort of thing. Communications, being how do we communicate with our residents, but like how are we ensuring that that communication is happening, is consistent throughout the entire metro, especially if we have a policy change that we're all embracing. And then social, including like homelessness and transit and those workforce housing and some of those sorts of things. So those were the groups, and everybody's breaking up and getting on work groups and then coming back and making some recommendations. So I'm excited for what that will come of that, to how Mac really was when I first started engaging on city council. There is one special subcommittee group, which was Halloween date. I thought it was cute that it came up. So,
Yourself on it?
so no, but
Oh, no, she didn't.
Did you get thrown under the bus?
I
again?
nominated Mike. He wasn't there.
I had to leave the court, go to court, and then I find out I got nominated for the committee after I left.
I thought it would be
You're
great.
so
to have
passionate about the topic.
I really probably should have put myself, because you know how I feel about it, but, so I gave a little bit of feedback, but some of the other cities are, there's folks that feel strongly, and even folks that feel like Joseph, and having it actually on Halloween. And so, but there were a lot of folks who had sick, that said that they had families who said, it would be really nice to have it on the Saturday. So I think we were trendsetters, and people were thinking that was a potential benefit. So they've asked their city councils to consider that. But anyways, so those are I'm going to serve on the legislative and the communications committees, and Mike will have to pick outside of the Halloween special subcommittee that he's going to serve on, what he's going to participate in. But so just know much more to come in this. And like I said, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a good, it's moving in the right direction, and we'll come out with some good suggestions. And again, each city can decide what they want to do with it, but hopefully allowing for more cohesive and practical solutions to some of the challenges that we all face, and trying to have some consistency and continuity across the metro when it's applicable. So.
Campbell?
I attended the DART meeting on June 4th. There was a Bravo meeting on the 12th, but last minute I was not able to attend. But I was thrilled to see our grant application for an art study was approved. Foundation's Ice Cream Social is this Sunday, and I'm hosting for 63rd. There's also activities down at the park, I believe. Maybe.
I've heard one way or another.
Check the foundation's Facebook page for more information. Special Events Committee meets this Friday morning. I'm sure we'll get an update then as well. And that's all I got.
So yes, Ice Cream Social Sunday. We are also hosting on 80th Street. Last year, there were several people that said, hey, we want to do this, and nobody did. So we're in. I understand the welcome packets for new residents have trickled in to the office, and we're going to take a look at those and start to augment them with some additional things for our new residents, and start delivery process soon. That's all I have, sir.
Jones?
Nothing for me.
Gary's?
Let's see. Hold on. On June 5th, I took a tour of the landfill out by Reynolds, Mitchellville, my first time. Gonna admit it. I recommend that if you haven't taken a tour, that you ask me to set it up because it is amazing. And it doesn't stink, just so you know, it does not stink unless you go down to the compost, but it was too wet to go down there. So I was very shocked at how it is. And again, reminder, June 29th, they're having their big tour through there. Good for adults, kids, it doesn't matter. I will probably drag Darren with me, just so I'm not by myself going through it again. But, see, thank you to Teresa, the fire department, police department, and public works for helping to, at the very last minute, move movies in the park inside to the CEC. Thank you to AJ for answering my SOS call and hurrying to the community event center to work the AV equipment. Happy to note, I think that the AV equipment in the CEC is now fixed because we were able to hear everything and it was loud. So knock on wood, I think it was actually fixed. So thank you and hallelujah to everybody who worked on that for the last 10 years. Or it felt like that, at least, I don't know. There were about 300 people that went from outside to inside to watch the movie Elemental. And we had some really great new volunteers that came out, and that was nice. They were able to see kind of how the city functions and all of our the fun that we have. And they were very impressed with how things worked like clockwork, even though I didn't think it went very well. But, you know, it was because I'm sure they didn't see the problems, but I appreciate the fire department, police department, public works just coming in and grabbing pizza boxes, about maybe 38 of them, to bring inside popcorn. I mean, everything was already set out there and everybody moved it in and we were inside in about 10 minutes. We started the movie 1 minute late and I mean, it couldn't have worked out better for us. So I appreciate everybody's help. On Tuesday, I went to the PM Bash, was able to talk to Delaney from Anytime Fitness, who will be holding our yoga in the park starting here soon. I can't remember the date, June something maybe. I shared the event that Delaney created on my council Facebook page, if anyone is interested in sharing that information. I'm excited to have the yoga back in Colby Park after a hiatus, and even better that I didn't have to plan it. So I also promoted our special events at the PM Bash, and I have 2 more businesses that are looking at sponsoring some different events, pizza, movies in the park, and some fall festival stuff. So I will just keep promoting us and seeing how many more sponsors we can get. On Wednesday, attended Bankers Trust Customer Appreciation Day. It was nice to see the police department and fire department grilling on such a warm day. Then this next week, we have the State of the City. Is that what it's called? Tomorrow, starting at 8:30 at the community center.
Right.
And then having a presentation outside for the
Hard
Colby
hat
Park,
tour.
the hard hat tour.
Be no hard hats, but you can walk through regardless.
Well, bring your own hard hats.
All right, bring-
That's what we're gonna call it.
UIOHH.
I have a Metro Waste meeting on Wednesday evening. Thursday morning, I have a Catch Des Moines meeting. On Friday, we have the special events meeting in the morning, and then I'm volunteering with Catch Des Moines at the junior rodeo at the state fair.
There you go.
That'll be fun.
They asked that we kind of come out there as Catch committee members, and I chose that for some reason. I'm driving a golf cart, so it can't be that hard, right? Foundations Ice Cream Social, June 23rd. I think they're still looking for volunteers. I have no idea, again, if I didn't research to see if they were doing Colby Park. I know that we are having the Ice Cream Social at our house as well on 64th, so send people on over. June 25th, I'm attending the AM Exchange with the Chamber and will again promote our special events. Then meeting with Tiffany to review sponsorships and also how we can add more to the list of sponsorships so that it will be easier for someone to take over special events planning in the future. So Tuesday starts the Nights in the Heights concert series. And that's it. Lastly, just want to wish Bree a happy 24th birthday as she's sitting at home waiting for me to come there. And I went to Dairy Queen. Ice cream cake.
Not in the car, is it?
No.
Oh, that.
What time are we eating cake?
Yeah, exactly.
Drinking cake.
AJ?
Just note, Bravo's got their 20th anniversary celebration Friday, June 28th, 2 to 4. They're asking for RSVPs if you're gonna attend. Adam has to be attending for us. I'll be out that day. Construction's plodding along on 73rd. They've been working on water testing out there, trying to get that finally approved so they can make the connections to the new water main. And Colby Park is well torn up, working on the food truck alley. They are gonna make a concerted effort here in the next 2 weeks to get a strip of concrete paved on the west-hand side so that there's a better access over to the band shell for Nights in the Heights. And they are still aggressively working towards substantial completion by Fall Festival. So Jason, I was thinking you had an update on something. Do you recall what it was?
On what?
I was thinking you had an update on something, but I don't recall what it was now. That's all I got.
Probably come to us after we leave.
Yeah, usually does.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
I remember what it was.
Roll call.
Yes.
He doesn't will be here tomorrow. I'm afraid of the universe.
Yes.
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 Yes.